From OAKLA to LB, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show presented by my good friends Panda Subs. Head on over to pandasubs.com where you guys can save 40% off, and all you got to do is use this code right here, Raiders. Hopefully everyone can remember that. They just released their brand new pre-workout. It's called Pandemic Pre-Workout. I'm going to tell you this right now. It's so strong. For you new-time worker-outers, if that's even a word, I have no idea. You might just want to use half a scoop because it is that legit. So what do we got coming up here on today's show? I'm going to give you the truth and why the Raiders did not go out and get Julio Jones, because there's a lot of stories out there, but I'm going to give you the truth on it. Richard Sherman, could he be on his way to Las Vegas? A fun little update around him. And then I saw this rumor out there about the Raiders moving on from Rasul Douglas, at least in terms of the 53-man roster. And at the very end of today's show, I got a fun little rookie we're going to talk about, Malcolm Koonce, and why you shouldn't sleep on him. So if you live underneath a rock, maybe you don't know this, Julio Jones, he was traded to the Tennessee Titans, and basically for the last month here on the Raiders Report, we've been talking about this dude, I'll say more than just about any other player out there. So the report is right now that the Raiders, they didn't have the cash to be able to make it work with Julio Jones. My belief is that, well, I don't believe that report, because if you want a player like Julio, you're not going to let cash get in the way of that. You can make the cap work, and I think any single time you see the response of, oh, we didn't have the money to be able to do it, that's just an excuse for either A, they didn't have the right amount of draft capital out there, or their offer sucked. So for me, I'm a big believer that this whole cash thing, throw it out the window. The reason why the Raiders didn't go ahead and do this, they're hoping that Henry Ruggs, Bryan Edwards, they're hoping that some of these younger players can take that next step forward. Like, I wanted Julio Jones on this roster, and when I saw what Tennessee had to give up, a second-round pick, because everyone out there was like, oh, the Raiders are going to have to give up Henry Ruggs. Oh, they're going to have to give a first-round pick. I told you all for months, it was not going to have to be that much. So, like, I understand them not doing it. The other aspect of it is this. Sure, if you would have had to go out and get Julio, you would have had to cut some guys. The way I look at it is, if you can make your football team better, if you can give Derek Carr a true wide receiver one, you know what, I'm okay with moving on from a few players here. So if you hear cash considerations out there, I don't want to hear any of it, because I'm going to give that one zero chalky heads. Tuck, roll, tuck that. Now, are you guys, you hitting that? You know what I'm talking about. You know. You hitting that? If you're not hitting it, then you better go and hit that subscribe button. Jeremy just winked at me, and luckily you guys can't see what's going on underneath this table here. So subscribe for the latest Raiders news and rumors. We're the #1 most watched Raiders show for a reason. We like to have a good time. So seriously, hit it. Are the Las Vegas Raiders going to go out and sign free agent Richard Sherman? We're talking about it here on the Las Vegas Raiders Report. So Sherman, apparently, he wants to sign after mandatory minicamp, so basically after June 18th. Everything that I've personally seen that is like, hey, I'm a veteran. I know I can play. I want to rest up as much as humanly possible. So my plan is right now to go ahead and sign after minicamp. According to a report that just came out, the Raiders, the Seahawks, the 49ers, and the New Orleans Saints have been the teams that have been a little bit more interested in going out and signing the veteran. He wants to play for a contender. We know that, right? The real question is this. Are the Raiders actually a contender? We'll get to that here in just a sec. So I'm not going to try to butcher this man's last name, but he works for Sports New York. His first name's Ralph. You guys can connect the dots. This is what he had to say on Sherman signing. Sherman wants to play for a contender. Making a reunion with the Jets coach Robert Saleh is unlikely. He's been in talks with the 49ers about a return and had interest from the Seahawks, Saints, and the Raiders this offseason. Injuries limited Sherman to 5 2020 appearances, but he held quarterbacks to a 69.6 passer rating. Real nice when healthy. Then the 5-time Pro Bowler should settle for a 1-year prove-it deal. So that last sentence there, do you see all that? 5-year vet, all right? He wants to, or should sign for a 1-year prove-it deal. The old report was that Sherman was looking for a 2-year contract. I've come up here and said, I don't know if I want to go out and pay somebody 33 years old a 2-year deal. But if you're telling me right now a 1-year prove-it deal, I believe in a year that the cap situation is a little bit lower, all I'm saying is now I'm a little bit more intrigued. So would you sign Sherman to a 1-year prove-it deal? I want you to type Y for yes, or I want you to type your N for no. Now, I don't know exactly how much that one-year prove-it deal is going to be worth. Maybe it's something like what the Raiders gave somebody like Casey Hayward. I believe it's going to be a little bit more expensive than that. But if you're telling me right now I could get Richard Sherman for 1 year, anything less than $6 million, I don't know about y'all. I'm listening, and I would actually do it in a heartbeat. And I understand the whole Julio thing. We didn't go out and make a Julio Jones move because of cash. We didn't have it to work. I'm going to say it 100 times. If you want a player, you can make it work. And if you need to move on from certain guys, you can move on from Jalen Richard. There's $3.5 million. You can move on from a lot of other dudes to be able to get up to the amount of money. You need to go out and get Richard Sherman. Because, I get the idea. He's probably coming off his worst year of his career because he was hurt, right? But in 2019, some of these numbers, they're pretty eye-popping to me. And not just the fact that, the 2 tackles for loss, 7 pass breakups, 3 INTs. But one thing that I'll always respect about Sherman is when somebody doubts him, or if everyone's like, all right, this guy's kind of washed up. I mean, I'm going to raise my hand even though you can't see me. I thought he was done entering 2019. What did he go on to do? I think you could have argued he was a top 10, maybe a top 5 corner in the National Football League. Now, I think the Raiders have done a good job this offseason, at least building up that secondary. And, well, when you're probably one of the worst secondaries in the world, you really can only go up. But I like the addition of Casey Hayward. I like the move of Rasul Douglas. You're hoping guys like Damon Arnett could step up. You're hopefully Mullen can have that breakout year. Isaiah Johnson and Robertson. I mean, I can go on and on about the secondary, which is why I like the move of going out and getting Sherman. Because if you have Richard Sherman and you have Casey Hayward, 2 players here that I'm a big believer that if you have both of those guys, you're going to be able to teach some of these younger dudes here. And I hope that guys like Damon can step up. And, we're hoping that some of these younger players can take that next step. But I don't know if we have the leadership quite on the defensive side of the football. I know this. Richard Sherman, he's going to make these guys show up, and he's going to make you guys really, get after it and get to work here. So the reason why y'all probably clicked on this video is because Richard Sherman, is he coming to Las Vegas? I'm going to give this one only one chuck. It's a really small shred of truth. Usually the one chuck he had is like something between the percentage of 1 all the way up to 25. This, to me, is somewhere between 5 to 10%. Now, if the Raiders want to go out and give him a good amount of money, sure. The other reason why I'm going to give this only one chuck he had is because he wants to play for a contender. Not that the Raiders can't compete for a playoff spot, but when I hear a contender, I think for a Super Bowl. When I see a lot of those other teams, I mean, Seattle, better team than the Raiders right now. 49ers, better than the Raiders right now. The Saints, if that offense can get it together, maybe, but that defense is a lot more legit than the Raiders as it stands right now. So I'm a believer that he's either going to go to Seattle or he's going to find his way back with the San Francisco 49ers. Now, today's show is presented by Panda Subs, and as the virus mutated and found new ways to invade our lives, Panda also mutated and became more resilient. Introducing the brand new Pandemic, a whole new strain of extreme pre-workout that is strong enough to carry you through any pandemic and help you get back to the back so you can kick some ass that you guys are hoping to be. So you got to make sure that you're using that 40% off discount code at pandasubs.com. The code is Raiders. It is as easily to remember, I think, as humanly possible. But I am going to warn you, I work out probably I was going to say 5 times a week, but that's a lie at this point. Maybe 3-4 times a week. And I have a lot of caffeine in my diet. I would recommend for you guys out there to maybe only use a half a scoop. Now, if you work out all the time and you consume a lot of caffeine, then take the full scoop. You're going to be wide awake, and you're going to be sitting there like, wow, shit, I've been working out for 2 hours. I present a lot of different products on this show. This is brand new, just released, and I'm telling you, if you need that extra motivation to get your butt in the gym, this is the product that you need to go out and get. Now, with our code, it's usually $57.99. Nah, $34.79 over at Panda Subs. That code is going to be available for y'all in the comments section and down there in the description if for whatever reason you can't remember it. Also, if you guys have any questions about any of the products at Panda Subs, you can always hit me up on IG or Twitter. I'm more than happy to tell you which ones have worked for me. But I have yet to try this one, but all the other pre-workouts I've had are good. And if this is an upgrade, well, yeah, that was easy. Pandasubs.com. Use code Raiders for 40% off. The next story here on the Raiders Report is around cutting Rasul Douglas. Now, Fansided, they put out their fun little 53-man roster projection. I saw it. I read through it. There were some agreements. There were some disagreements. The one move that I thought was pretty eye-popping to me was the fact that Rasul Douglas was not listed on the 53-man roster. Raider Nation is kind of split on who they think is going to be the players that step up in the secondary. I'm a big believer that Douglas is a guy that Mayock liked a lot. Couldn't stop speaking about how good he was, some of his ball skills. And really, when you look at what Gus Bradley looks for in a defender and a cornerback, they want the build of somebody like Douglas, which is one of the biggest reasons why I think the Raiders went out and got him. So when I see some of these other players that you have in this secondary here, like they had, like Mullen, he ended up making the roster. Casey Hayward obviously made the roster. A guy like Damon Arnett obviously made the roster. And nobody's going to sit on this show here and dispute that, right? However, when you look at some of the other players that ended up making the 53-man at the cornerback position on Fansided, that's really where I want to take this discussion, because the other positions that are open for debate, I believe Amik Robertson's going to make it, especially with new reports out there that he might actually play on the outside, which I find kind of surprising for a cornerback who is listed at 5'9", even though he might be 5'8". Nate Hobbs, they drafted in round 5 out of Illinois. He's going to make it. And then it came down to Isaiah Johnson. When I did my 53-man roster projection video, if you would have allowed me to have 54 players, Johnson would have made the roster. So basically, Fansided out there said, okay, we're going to keep Isaiah Johnson, and we're going to move on from Rasul Douglas. Where I'm simply going to say, I don't know if I 100% agree with that. But I'm going to ask y'all, who's the better corner? Who would you rather make the team? I want you to type RD for Rasul Douglas, or I want you to type IJ for Isaiah Johnson. And you can go down in the comments section on YouTube. Let us know what you're thinking. If you want to keep both of these players, I'll tell you what, I was actually probably closer to keeping both of these guys and then moving on from somebody like a Javen White, because they ended up keeping 6 linebackers, and I don't know if that's the route that the Raiders go either. But for me, man, I'm going to go with Douglas just because I think he's the more complete cornerback right now. Is he young? Yes, he is. He's under 26 years old. I believe he's 25 off the top of my head. But he's got the long lankiness that you're looking for. Mayock brought him in for a reason. And when you look at a lot of the moves that the Raiders had during that offseason, obviously cornerback was a major need. And you're hoping that Damon takes that next step. You're hoping that some of these guys can continue to get better. I just actually really like Rasul Douglas, and in terms of a sleeper player on this team that more people need to know about, especially in that secondary, Rasul Douglas is definitely a player to keep in mind. All right, y'all. So if you haven't already, please go ahead, give me a follow on Instagram. I am at Mitchell Renz 365. If you have any questions whatsoever about anything you saw on today's show, the DMs are open for a reason. If you want to ask me, I don't know, what's going on in my personal life, that would be great too. If you want to really help the show grow, I want you to DM me this. I got you. If you DM me on Instagram, I got you. I'm not going to give you any context to that. I'm always a believer. If you can tell a secret and, people are wondering what that is, they'll message you. So if you want to help me, help the Raiders Report, I want you to DM me on Instagram. I got you. And then I'll get back to y'all. Be patient and give me like 24 hours. If you want to help the show, again, DM me. I got you. All right, let's go to the last story here on the show. Don't sleep on Malcolm Koonce. At least that's what Bleacher Report is telling people in an article. They named one player from each team at OTAs that every NFL team needs to watch. Malcolm Koonce was listed for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I like this pick a lot because he's a good player. Sure, he's a little bit undersized, 6'2", 49-pounder out of Buffalo. And anytime you talk about a defensive player from the Raiders, from Buffalo, y'all know who comes up. And if you don't, well, that's a you problem. Now, the reason why I'm intrigued by this is because it reminds me a little bit of the Max Crosby talk. And if you don't know exactly what I mean by that, I hyped up Max Crosby for 2018 for so long, and everyone's like, oh, he's beating Arden Key, and I'm like, all right, maybe we should actually look at this. Everything that I've heard so far from Koonce is like, hey, this kid is going to be really good. Watch out for him. So, I'm not saying he's going to put up 10 sacks in his first year. I'm saying, don't be surprised if after the first year, all right, that kid's pretty damn good. So here's what Bleacher Report had to say on Malcolm Koonce. Koonce may never develop into an every down defender, but his capability of creating pressure can't be stressed enough. He played in only 6 games last season, yet managed 5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. In 2019, the 2-time first-team All-MAC performer posted one of the nation's highest pass rush win rates. Now, how long have I been saying that he's going to play the Benson Mayowa role? Well, guess what? Mike Mayock literally this week was like, he's going to be in on 3rd down. So he's probably going to be getting I don't know, I'll say 20, 25% of the snaps, at least probably the first 4 weeks. If he does well in those snaps, then he's going to get a little bit more playing time. The role that they wanted Carl Nassib to play last year is the role that Malcolm Koonce is going to play this year. And I'm a believer that he is going to be pretty damn good at it. He's got a good motor. He's got good bend. And one of the things that Mayock just couldn't stress enough more about with Crosby, they called him Gumby. So, dude, this kid just bends. He keeps using the term bends and keeps comparing Koonce, not to Crosby, but just his ability to really be able to get under people, which is why I'm excited to see what this kid does this upcoming season. Now, who do you have your eyes on during OTAs? Is there a certain player, and I get the fact that you guys can't be there, but I always go on the internet. Obviously, I'm searching around. Like, there are certain players that I always am on the lookout for. I'm like, all right, what's the latest on Ruggs? How much weight did he gain? What's Brian Edwards looking like? Like, there's certain dudes that I have my eye on. If you want to let me know who you guys are watching out for, go down in the comments section and let me know. Now, as I'm filming this video, we had a little bit of an update here, so I wanted to keep you guys updated here. As I say that, that kind of sounds really weird coming out of my mouth. So Sam Young, he has officially signed his one-year deal worth $1.05 million as expected, the vet minimum. In relation to that, the Raiders had to move on because you have to get at that 90-man roster. They've released Marquel Harrell. If you made it this far in the video, know that I appreciate you, and if you haven't yet, hit that big red button that says subscribe.